The middle section of the book of Isaiah shifts dramatically in tone. Beginning in chapter 15 and continuing through chapter 22, the prophet Isaiah delivers a series of judgments, often called the burdens or oracles against the nations. These prophecies move beyond Judah and Jerusalem and focus on surrounding kingdoms: Moab, Damascus, Ethiopia, Egypt, Babylon, Edom, Arabia, Tyre, and even Jerusalem itself. At first glance, these chapters can appear to be isolated political warnings directed at ancient enemies. But beneath the surface lies something much deeper. Isaiah is describing the instability of human power itself. Nations rise, nations boast, empires trust in wealth, armies, alliances, trade routes, walls, idols, and political systems. Yet Isaiah repeatedly presents the same message. No kingdom is secure when pride replaces righteousness, and when power is pursued without justice. These prophecies emerged during one of the most dangerous periods in the ancient Near East. The Assyrian Empire was expanding aggressively across the region. Cities were falling. Entire populations were being deported. Trade networks were collapsing under military pressure. Smaller nations desperately searched for alliances to survive. Fear spread everywhere, from Egypt to Syria to the Arabian deserts. Isaiah lived directly inside this geopolitical storm. The kingdoms surrounding Judah were attempting to navigate the growing shadow of Assyria. Some trusted military coalitions. Others trusted wealth or geography. Some believed their gods would protect them. But Isaiah repeatedly warns that human civilizations become fragile when they are built on arrogance, exploitation, spiritual corruption, or false security. And remarkably, many of the themes inside these chapters still echo through the modern Middle East and the wider world today. The burden against Moab. Isaiah 15-16. The first oracle is directed toward Moab, located east of the Dead Sea in present-day Jordan. Isaiah describes Moab in deep mourning. Cities are devastated. People shave their heads in grief. Refugees flee across rivers and deserts, searching for safety. The language is emotional and tragic rather than triumphant. Isaiah does not celebrate Moab's destruction. In fact, he mourns for them. This is important because Moab had a long and hostile relationship with Israel. Yet Isaiah presents even enemy suffering as heartbreaking. Entire societies are collapsing under war and instability. Historically, Moab was vulnerable to invasion because of the expanding Assyrian Empire. Trade disruptions, military campaigns, and political instability threatened smaller kingdoms throughout the region. But Isaiah also identifies pride as a central issue. Moab was known for arrogance, self-confidence, and complacency. Their wealth and stability created a false sense of permanence. Isaiah warns that national pride can blind societies to approaching collapse. That theme still resonates today. Modern nations often assume economic success, military strength, or technological advancement guarantees security. Yet history repeatedly shows that even powerful societies can unravel through internal corruption, instability, division, environmental stress, or war. The imagery of refugees fleeing devastated cities in Isaiah 15 feels startlingly modern in an age where millions across the Middle East and Africa have been displaced by conflict. The prophecy is not a direct prediction of modern nations, but the pattern Isaiah describes continues throughout history. Damascus and Ephraim. Isaiah 17. Isaiah next turns toward Damascus, capital of ancient Aram, in modern-day Syria. Damascus is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in human history. During Isaiah's lifetime, Syria and the northern kingdom of Israel had formed alliances against Assyria and sometimes against Judah itself. Isaiah predicts devastation for Damascus and weakening for Ephraim, the northern kingdom of Israel. The prophecy reflects the political realities of the 8th century BC. Assyria eventually crushed both powers. The northern kingdom of Israel would later fall entirely in 722 BC. Yet Isaiah's language moves beyond military defeat alone. He describes humanity becoming spiritually empty after destruction. People who once trusted idols and political power suddenly realize how fragile their world truly was. Modern readers often notice parallels with modern Syria because Damascus has again become associated with devastation, war, refugees, and regional instability. However, Isaiah's prophecy should be approached carefully. The chapter primarily addressed Isaiah's own historical world. Yet the recurring themes, civil war, collapsing alliances, humanitarian suffering, and fragile political systems, remain deeply relevant today. The prophecy becomes less about predicting headlines and more about exposing repeating human patterns. Ethiopia and the shadow of great powers, Isaiah 18. Isaiah then addresses Cush, generally associated with regions south of Egypt, often linked to ancient Nubia or Ethiopia. This chapter is mysterious and poetic. Messengers travel by rivers. Powerful nations observe one another from afar. Empires maneuver strategically across Africa and the Near East. At the time, Cushite rulers held influence over Egypt and were deeply involved in regional politics. Smaller nations hoped Egypt and Cush might help resist Assyria. But Isaiah warns against placing ultimate trust in geopolitical alliances. This remains one of the central themes throughout chapters 15 to 22. Human beings consistently believe salvation will come through political systems, military coalitions, economic structures, or global powers. Egypt, Isaiah 19 to 20. The oracle against Egypt is among the most fascinating. Egypt was one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations on Earth. For centuries, it represented wealth, learning, military power, religion, and political stability. Yet Isaiah portrays Egypt descending into confusion. Civil conflict erupts, economic systems fail. The Nile, the source of Egypt's survival, suffers disruption. Leaders become confused and fearful. The society that once appeared eternal suddenly looks fragile. This would have shocked Isaiah's audience because Egypt symbolized permanence. Isaiah is attacking the illusion that any civilization can guarantee its own future forever. The Nile imagery is especially striking because Egypt's survival literally depended on stable water systems. Environmental disruption meant economic disaster. Today, concerns surrounding water security, climate pressure, agricultural stress, and control of the Nile still affect Egypt and neighboring countries. The prophecy feels surprisingly modern because many nations today remain vulnerable to the same forces Isaiah described thousands of years ago. Political fragmentation, environmental instability, economic dependence, and leadership crises. Babylon. Isaiah 21. Isaiah then turns toward Babylon. At the time of Isaiah's early ministry, Babylon had not yet become the terrifying empire it would later become under Nebuchadnezzar. Assyria was still dominant, yet Isaiah sees Babylon as both rising and eventually falling. The prophecy contains imagery of watchmen scanning the horizon, anxiously waiting for approaching disaster. Babylon later became symbolic of human empire itself. Wealth, pride, luxury, military dominance, and rebellion against God. Throughout history, many societies have seen reflections of Babylon in their own age. Some connect Babylon symbolically to corrupt empires, exploitative economies, authoritarian systems, or societies consumed by excess and moral decay. The Book of Revelation later adopts Babylon as a symbol for global corruption and arrogance. The deeper issue is not geography alone, but human civilization's recurring temptation toward domination, greed, and self-deification. Edom and Arabia. Isaiah 21. Isaiah also addresses Edom and Arabia. These regions were deeply connected to trade routes, caravans, and desert commerce. Yet even economically strategic regions could not escape instability. Trade networks collapse during war. Refugees move through deserts. Fear spreads across regions once dependent on commerce and mobility. This, again, feels modern. Global economies today remain interconnected through trade routes, shipping lanes, oil corridors, and supply chains. When geopolitical conflict disrupts these systems, entire regions feel the consequences. Isaiah reveals how deeply interconnected nations already were in the ancient world. No kingdom existed in isolation. Jerusalem itself. Isaiah 22. Perhaps the most shocking prophecy comes at the end. After condemning foreign nations, Isaiah turns directly toward Jerusalem. This is crucial because Isaiah refuses to portray Judah as morally superior simply because it belongs to God's covenant people. Jerusalem itself becomes guilty of pride, misplaced trust, corruption, and spiritual blindness. The people focus on fortifying walls, gathering weapons, and securing water systems while ignoring repentance and justice. This likely reflects preparations for the Assyrian siege under King Hezekiah. Isaiah does not condemn practical preparation itself. The problem is deeper. The people trusted defenses while neglecting spiritual transformation. This tension remains deeply relevant today. Modern societies often believe security can be achieved entirely through technology, surveillance, military power, economics, or infrastructure. Yet, Isaiah argues that civilizations also collapse morally and spiritually from within. The famous figure Shebna appears in this chapter as an example of prideful leadership. He seeks personal glory and status while the nation faces crisis. Isaiah contrasts him with Eliakim, a more faithful servant figure. This becomes a warning about leadership itself. When leaders prioritize self-preservation, image, wealth, or power over truth and justice, societies become unstable regardless of military strength. Why these nations? A major question emerges from these chapters. Why did Isaiah focus on these specific nations? The answer lies partly in geography and politics. These were the major regional powers and neighbors influencing Judah's survival during the Assyrian crisis. Each represented a different form of human trust. Moab represented pride and complacency. Damascus represented unstable political alliances. Egypt represented dependence on ancient power and military security. Babylon represented imperial arrogance and excess. Arabia represented economic vulnerability. Jerusalem represented religious hypocrisy and false confidence. Together, the nations become a mirror reflecting humanity itself. Isaiah is not merely predicting military events. He is exposing recurring spiritual and political patterns that repeat across history. Thank you so much for joining us today. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring teachings and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new post. Drop a comment below to let us know what you think and share this video with your family and friends. Remain blessed, and we'll see you next time.